In Genesis chapter 38, we have this strange story. It kind of feels like a rabbit trail. We have this story of Joseph going on, and then all of a sudden we jump to this story about Reuben, and we'll see tomorrow when we read Genesis chapter 39 that it goes back to Joseph. But this story about Judah is important. I mean, it's in the Bible, so God decided that it was important and it needed to be there. But the only way that we really understand this is if we understand marriage from that time period. So when a woman got married to a husband, she didn't just join him to form just a immediate family. She joined the entire family. And each family had that head of the family who was kind of the patriarch and would make big decisions for the family. And Judah was this patriarch. He was the head of this family. And so Tamar got married, and God killed her husband because he was evil. And then we get into this concept of levirate marriage. So because Judah's oldest son died, his youngest son was supposed to marry his brother's widow and have a child with her. And that child would get all of the birthright that went to his brother. And so he didn't want to do that, and he died. And so to keep going down the line, Tamar was supposed to marry Judah's third son. But Judah didn't want this to happen. So that's the basics of the beginning of this story. So then Judah goes and he encounters a prostitute, and he enjoys her services. And he gives her collateral for payment, and he's going to return with the payment. Anyway, the story gets really interesting at the very end when he finds out that Tamar is pregnant, and he says she needs to be burned. And then she gives him that stuff that he had given her for collateral, not knowing that it was her. And then he says, "You are more righteous than I am." When we read this story, I can't help but think about how many times do we hold ourselves to a higher standard? I mean, do we hold other people to a higher standard than ourselves? Judah made a bad choice, but it took two people to make that bad choice. And he was willing to kill this person who was part of this bad choice with him. But he wasn't willing to do the same to himself. We encounter this a lot. How often do we do this? It's crazy that we would ever think this person has to do better than I do just because I don't want to deal with having to be better. Judah's eyes were just open to his folly. That's what stands out to me when I read Genesis chapter 38. Come back tomorrow and we'll talk about Genesis chapter 39.